How's it going, guys? So the RuneScape player count has jumped dramatically recently with the archaeology skill being introduced into the game. So even though a lot of you guys are busy digging up stuff, brushing off sand off of items and repairing them to their full state just to get a little bit of extra experience and race to 99, I figured now is probably a decent time as well, because of so many people playing on mobile, to make a RuneScape mobile combat guide for anyone who might want to take a break from digging up stuff and go out and kill some bosses, and maybe even just challenge themselves to do that boss on RuneScape mobile. So in this video, I'm going to go over how I kill bosses in RuneScape mobile and show you guys a few tips and tricks on what you could do to improve as well, or if you are starting brand new from scratch but you're just interested in learning anyway. I'm also going to go quite in depth about how to set up all your items, all your abilities, and just some recommendations with your interface being your ribbon and things like that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick around, watch till the end, and hopefully it helps you out. If it does, don't forget to leave a like on the video so other people will get helped out as well, and of course subscribe if you enjoy my content, because there'll be more coming and you don't want to miss out on any videos in the future. First of all, before we get started, some of you guys might already be thinking, what's the point in having a combat guide for RuneScape Mobile? Why would I not just want to jump on PC and just do it all straight from there? Well, a lot of people play exclusively on mobile, and also if you're out and about but you want to be able to get some progress done on RuneScape and you don't want to just AFK skill on your phone, then you could definitely jump on and do a bit of bossing. I have shown in recent videos and some old past videos as well that bossing on RuneScape Mobile is definitely something that you can do. It's not too difficult to do certain bosses. I find Araxor fairly easy, and it's just something that's definitely a possibility to do. So that's why I wanted to bring this guide to you guys. So for anyone who's brand new to RuneScape Mobile, as soon as you log in, your interface is going to look something like this that you can see on screen now. To get any sort of idea about combat coming up at all, on the right hand side you've got a ribbon bar of all your sort of things like your inventory and all that sort of good stuff, and then on the left hand side down the bottom you've got a little sword icon that if you click it brings up your abilities, so the action bar that you've currently got set up. Now this might be empty for you, or it'll just bring up one from your main game if you have played from there. And you can change that just by pressing the number just above the sword icon, and it can change to all the other action bars that you've got available. Now, for a lot of people, your health and your adrenaline and prayer points are not going to be showing. So if you hold click on the sword and then toggle combat HUD, that will then bring that up for you. The next thing that you're probably going to want to be able to do is slot abilities on your action bar. So what you're going to want to do is below the sword icon, click on the settings icon. Go into that and it'll open your powers window. In here, as you can see, all of your abilities are here, and these can be dragged onto the current action bar shown. Now you can change your action bar that's displayed here by clicking on one of the numbers and then picking a different one, and that'll change it over to the current action bar that you are editing. Now below that you can see the revolution bar is there. As long as you have revolution active, you can edit this as well just by clicking on the other one and selecting a different one there as well. So what you're going to want to do is make sure your first main action bar, which is going to be your revolution bar, is set up ready to go just as you would in a normal game. So you want all your basic abilities down there so the game can do that for you, as otherwise you just have too much interaction to do. You don't want to have to fire off all your own basic abilities. Revolution is definitely going to be the way to go if you're doing combat in RuneScape Mobile. So make sure your revolution action bar is set up. This is going to be the action bar that you want to go with your style of weapon choice. So if you're doing range, then have it set up for a range bar. I recommend looking up some guides on YouTube for how to set these up for a specific style, as you can try and get the optimal DPS on that for you. However, in this video I'm just going to show you how to slot stuff and just some tips onto how to actually do the combat in this game. So if you set up your revolution bar and you've got that all nice and ready to go, the next thing you're going to want to do is set up the ability bar for your secondary action bar. Now this is going to be the one that you interact with to use other abilities and stuff that you may need while you're doing combat. So what you're going to want to do is select the action bar that you want to slot abilities on, and then find on the left hand side here and then drag down anything that you may need. So if I want to put anticipation onto this bar, I just drag it over to the slot that I want and drop it, and then hopefully it will change over, which it does. And then once that's done, you come out of here and you have that all nicely set up just here. And as you can see at the bottom, my revolution bar is there by itself, and my main interactive action bar is here on the front screen ready for me to use. The next thing that I wanted to mention, which is really important for setting up your UI and your ribbon, is going to be the ribbon. Now in this, you're going to want to change this to suit your playstyle of the game. And if you're going to be doing PvM or bossing, you're going to want some specific things on here, which you can see I have on mine, being your summoning tab, your prayer tab, your spells tab, and your abilities. Now to do this, you're going to want to go to the home button in the top left, and then go to the menu icon in the top right. Once you've done that, go to the ribbon option, and on the bottom where it says ribbon bar, these are the ones that you're going to want to change. Now to do this, you're going to want to just drag down the icons that you want to have on there. As you can see, I've dragged that down and it adds on to the end. However, it does say it displays only up to 7 icons, so as you can see, I now have more than 7, and that final one won't be shown anyway. So take that off, put it away, and you're going to want to set this up in a way that suits you for any sort of bossing encounters or any combat that you're going to be doing anyway. Now, the setup that I have is probably what I would recommend you have anyway, just because it's all the things that you're going to need. For example, you've got there your worn equipment, your inventory, you've also got your stats so you can see how your overloads are doing. You can also access your familiar quickly for Beast of Burden options. You've got your prayer window, your spells for quick changing or using any sort of debuffs, and you've also got your abilities in case you need to access defense. This is something that I can't stress enough that you will absolutely need to do, because there's not going to be any other way that you can quickly access things like your defense abilities that you haven't got slotted on your action bar, and there's definitely going to be times that you do need them. So I would highly recommend setting it up like this. Put them in an order that's comfortable for you. You don't have to have the exact same one, and once it's done, it's something that you can either change if you're doing other things like questing, but if you're doing bossing, PvM, any sort of combat, then it's definitely worth having set up in a way that you can access everything that you need. Coming back to the action bar and the revolution bar that you do have, these don't need to both be the same, and this is something really important because you don't have access to as many abilities as you do when you're playing the main game, and a lot of bosses do require you to use a lot of abilities at specific times, and you're going to need to have access to these specific ones. So for example, if you were going to do a Raxor, then you would want your revolution bar to be set up ready for any sort of basic abilities that you want your character to be using, and say if you're using ranged, then you would have all of your ranged abilities on here. To do that, you're going to want to go into that settings menu as I showed you before and set that up ready to go. And then also on your interactive bar, you're going to want to have all of the abilities that you will use throughout the fight on here, because these are the ones that you're going to be focusing on the most, so you don't have to be micromanaging everything else as well, or going through a ton of menus to find them. I highly recommend using this interactive action bar to use things like freedom and anticipate, surge, even equipping items like your shield, and using abilities like resonance. So this is going to be something that you will probably want to change for each boss, but luckily you do have access to 9 different action bars, so that does give you quite a lot of customization. So you could even have one set up for each boss. I have one currently set up for Raxor and one set up for Telos. I don't do Telos too much on mobile, but sometimes I feel like challenging myself and going ahead and trying it. So like I say, have all the abilities that you are going to need on here, because that will make it a lot easier for you to get through the fights, and it'll just save you from scrolling through a ton of different windows. That's what you're going to want to do with your main interaction bar, and also include your thresholds on here as well, because that way you can use them whenever they're off cooldown and at the specific times that you need to. So that way your character's not using rapid fire when a Raxor's inside his web. Also remember, things like food and potions can be put on here if needed also. It just means that you don't need to have your inventory window set open, taking up half of your screen, just so you can quickly eat some food and drink a Saradomin brew. Because when you do have your inventory window open, it does cover one side of your action bar, and that's something that you may need to use quite a lot while you're doing bosses like a Raxor, because you could have your prayers on that side, or you could need your surge. And also if you've got your food there, then it's quick and easy to use, and you don't need to go through too much options and misclick, causing you to die. Now that we've gone over things such as finding your abilities and how to slot them, setting up your ribbon for combat to give you access to things like your summoning tab, prayer tab, and all your abilities, and I've gone over how you should be using your action bars, using your revolution bar for your basic abilities, and your interactive action bar for any threshold abilities, items, food, prayer, all that sort of stuff, so you've got quick access to them, things that you'll need throughout a specific fight, and that you should be setting this up for each individual boss before you do try and do this. then really there's not much else on the basics that I would like to go over and sort of mention to yourselves. However, I will now want to go over a quick few tips, I suppose they are, or just things that I think that I should probably suggest to you guys that I do while I'm doing bossing that makes it a lot more convenient or easy to do. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. I'll explain a little bit more detail on them as I sort of list them off, but these should be fairly quick and to the point. The first tip is going to be the only one that I really am going to take some time to explain, and that is going to be that you guys can always use an action bar swap mid-combat if you need access to more abilities. So if you're going to challenge yourself to do something like Telos, then what I did was set up 2 interactive action bars which you can swap in-game by pressing on the number by the action bar, and this will allow you to set up, say, for phase 5 and for the whole rest of the kill. So I had 1 action bar that was set up for the whole kill, and then as I got to phase 5 I needed different abilities accessed pretty quickly, so I switched to a 2nd action bar that I had set up, and it just allowed me to use different abilities. This can open up a lot of different abilities for you guys to use, so if you practice it and get good at it, then it is really good. The second tip is set up your quick prayers. Make sure you have these ready, because that way if your prayer drops you can quickly toggle it back on, and as you enter a boss's area you can toggle it on quickly as well. When using a Beast of Burden, set the left click option to take from Beast of Burden. This will allow you to take food or potions that you have stored in it really quickly without having to open the summoning tab. You can flip the action bar over just by pressing on the rotate icon above the left hand side action bar window. If you do this, this will allow you to quickly use the inventory without covering up any abilities, for example Death Swiftness when you're trying to equip a Ring of Vigor. Remember, before you do a specific boss, to check what your Revolution bar is set up as. If you have a bleed on there and you're trying to do next, you could absolutely ruin your blood phase by doing that, as she will heal from it instead. So make sure to check that setup before you go into a boss fight, as you're not going to want to do that mid-fight. If you're doing a boss like Araxi and you really need to do some prayer switching, then have the prayers that you need to switch between on your action bar, because this will make it a lot easier than opening the prayer window and switching from there. If you set up your ribbon bar correctly, you will have an option to use your abilities from there. Now on the abilities tab, if you scroll that down to the defense section so that that's centered in the window, once you close that and reopen it, it will still be on the defense tab. So you can have this ready on that in case you quickly need access to other defense abilities. If you're doing a boss such as Araxor who summons minions, when you want to target these, it's going to be quite difficult, so remember that you can hold click to bring up your normal right click options, and this will allow you to target them much easier. If you're using abilities like Resonance quite a lot, remember you can put the shield and the ability Resonance next to each other for quick use, so you literally just need to tap the shield and then quickly tap Resonance, and it'll make it a lot faster for yourself. If you're struggling to get items on the ability bar, then you may need to unlock it. So go to the settings icon underneath the sword, hold click on that, and then toggle the action bar lock. Once you've done that, try slotting the abilities again. That is pretty much everything that I wanted to include in this guide. There's not much else specifically for RuneScape Mobile, combat wise, that needs to be mentioned. A lot of it is going to be practice. This is not something that you'll probably get straight away. I'm sure some of you will get it straight away, but it took me quite a while to practice it and be able to use it in the first place. You will probably use more supplies on mobile, as you aren't using as many defensive abilities unless you're really quick at switching, and it's just going to be something that is very useful to use when you're trying to save time or you just really don't want to be sat at your computer. Anyway, I hope the video did help you out. If it did, let me know in the comments, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them as well, so just ask away. And also, if you do have any questions or more than one, my Discord is always open. You'll find the link in the description for that as well. If you enjoyed the video and it did help you out, then make sure to leave a like, because that will help YouTube recommend it to other people who may need the guide as well. Also, make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, because there'll be more coming in the future, as I do like to play RuneScape Mobile quite a lot, so definitely subscribe and stick around for more. Other than that, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later guys, bye.